Hello, welcome to Movement Parallels Life, and thanks for joining in on this 15-minute crawling flow. I'm not going to need any special equipment for this practice today. Just a mat, just some open floor space. We're going to begin with a warm up, starting from a kneeling position and just going over some head turns, some cervical spine mobilization. Just slowly working around the corners of your head turns, looking right, looking left, scanning the sky, scanning the horizon, scanning the ground. Just check in, loosen up the neck and shoulders. Going to shift weight forward and next come into a knee hand position for some spinal articulation. You can think of rounding your back, rounding your spine, and arching your spine. Whatever you can do to start to create some movement in the individual vertebrae. Bring my hips back into a child's pose next, stretching the shoulders. Still breathing deeply here, really trying to get grounded. My palms pressing in to the floor, my knees open. Maybe I'll walk my way up to my fingertips and just start to rotate side to side. This gives me a nice stretch through the side body. Continue to breathe deeply, relax. Try to release any excessive tension that you might be coming into today's session with. From a kneeling position next, I'm going into a rotation reach, posting one hand behind my hips and reaching across my body with the other arm. Exhaling through the reach. Moving back to my spinal articulation. And I'm going to come back here and vary the pattern now. So now adding some circular movements, circling the spine, lateral movements, side bending. I really try to envision my spine inside my body and try to twist it and articulate it different ways. Back into that child's pose position, feeling a little bit more grounded here. We'll add a slight variation. Come back up to the fingertips, add that deeper stretch, and then I'm going to reach under, add some rotation and a nice little stretch for the posterior shoulder. As always, that key is just keep breathing. Reach and exhale. Going to be crawling a lot through this flow. Obviously, it's a crawling flow. So want to make sure that the wrists are properly warmed up and prepared for a pretty good amount of loading in that crawl position. So perform some elbow spins, some palm lifts. Weight shifting, rocking forward and back. My goal here is to expose the wrists to some stretch and some stress, to open up and stretch the tissue on the palms of my hands, to warm up my elbows and shoulders. So any of these little movements, and you can pick any of these movements that resonate with you or sample them all. This is just a basic routine that I go through before I do a lot of crawling or hand balancing. This last variation is one of my favorites, very key, going to this backhand press. Starting on my fists and then pushing the backs of my hands down to the floor. We're going to spend a lot of time loading the wrists in flexion, so we try to load them in extension as well. As you get more comfortable with this movement, you can start to add these little push-ups, adding some more load and more stress. This will help your wrists get stronger and allow you to crawl for longer periods of time without those wrists getting cranky. And we'll finish out the warm-up here with just a little bit of stretching with the shoulders. I sit up tall in a kneeling position, interlace my fingers behind my back and stretch. Bring the arms up overhead before I interlace again. And then plant my hands back behind my hips, press down into the ground. It's just, again, really nice way to open up the front of the body, stretch the chest and shoulders. Really exploring a very large range of motion from the shoulders. Last one here. Interlace, press. And we'll get into round one of the flow. It begins in a foot hand crawl position with a circular arm reach. I try to get my eyes to follow my hand as I go through 4 sweeping circles. Next, going to the crawl lunge in the split hinge. Lunge forward, hips up, draw the leg back straight. Hit each side 2 times. Then adding a sprawl. Foot hand crawl position, load the hips back, jump out wide, and drive the hips down to the floor, eyes up to the ceiling. Last one. So we've got a variation on the foot hand crawl rolling transition. I'm doing a circular sweep. From my foot hand crawl position, I'm extending one leg, sweeping it around, and coming into a tripod position, as we'll often call it in MoveNat. I'll use my tripod kick through next to come to the top of my mat. Again, coming back to that loaded crawl position so I can spring forward. Last one. Finish the flow with a back roll. You can see I'm using one hand to stabilize, and I'm rolling over the side of my head and my shoulder. All right, round 2. Circle reaches. It's starting to add a little bit more weight shifting this time and a little bit more fluidity in the arm. Can create more movement, but it's going to require me to stabilize more. Breathing rhythmically with those reaches. Lunge to hinge. Crawl to sprawl. 4 times. Keep those arms pressing strong into the ground. Take the gaze up to the ceiling. Engage the back line of the body. Circle sweeps. Tripod. Springing forward and kicking through to the front of the mat. and back rolling. See if you can start to transition out of that back roll, up towards the top of the mat with a crawl and kick over. Great. On to round 3. At this point, you're probably noticing that even though we're not moving terribly fast, the fatigue is starting to set in a little bit. A lot of time on the hands, a lot of effort. We don't always need to be moving at 100 miles an hour to be getting a good workout. But creating strength, stability, and connection when you're in this crawling pattern really works the body, challenges the body to grow stronger and build a stronger internal connection and integrity. Adding a little extra step here in this round for the tripod. Tripod through, just a little bit rock back, a precursor to the back roll. Truth be told, I probably got a little confused there, but just go with it. Sometimes our mistakes lead us to new ideas. And here we go through final round. Circle reaches. Crawl lunge to split hinge. Once you figure out the spacing there, you can go a little bit faster. Make this a dynamic stretch for the hip complex. Crawl to sprawl. Starting to get a little bit more dynamic this round. Jumping back, driving the hips down. Circle sweeps, this rolling transition again. Want this to be as fluid as possible. Might not be there today, but keep working on this flow, and you'll figure out how these pieces connect and get smoother and smoother as the time goes on. Last 2 back rolls. And great finish. Our cool down today is just going to incorporate a little bit of balancing and breathing for recovery. Find myself in a standing split. Lifting the back leg, folding forward. I'm going to bring the knee in towards my nose and hold that tuck position. Trying to squeeze my heel towards my butt before I stand up in a single leg balance. Holding these positions for about 3 breaths each. Swing the leg open to the side and hold, breathe, recover. Tilt the leg, internal rotation. and then external rotation as I lay the ankle across my knee and hinge. We'll repeat on the other side. Standing split. I like to start this by keeping the hips pretty square, lifting the leg as much as I can from the hip, and then I can start to open the hip. Draw the knee to the nose, hold, squeeze. Draw my way up to standing. Open the hip to the side, keeping the standing leg straight and strong. Stand focused for a few more seconds here, breathing deeply. Still some heat accumulating here, but I'm using my breath to stay calm. And that brings us just to the end of our practice today. I want to thank you for joining me with some natural movement. Hope you got a lot out of it, and hope you'll come back, try this movement again, and see if you can get smoother and more fluid over the course of time. All right, thanks again. We'll see you next time.